All right, I just had this little block that I've cut out, and I'll start carving this down. Begin to round this off, so nice smooth cut. Just taking off the corners like so. You should have something like that. So I will just take this fine grit sandpaper and start smoothing that out and shaping it into a cylinder. That's pretty good. And now I'm going to continue sanding both ends. And my objective here is to begin tapering this shape off into something like a barrel shape. Next, I'm going to go in and lay in some wood texture. I'm going to use a very sharp pencil for this. And I'm going to just draw in some lines, and these will represent those boards in between. So the barrel's constructed of these boards, basically. And I'm just drawing these in with the pencil, laying in a good groove with that, making sure that those are more distinct than my texture lines. Might even go back and do them a second time. Really want those to be pretty well defined. Crucial. One, I want this pencil to be really sharp. Two, I don't want to go in at a 90-degree angle. I'm kind of dragging it, again, pulling it up in a way, dragging it across the foam as to not tear it. And I should have something like this. And for this next step, you could just use a knife and kind of pick out some of the foam here. I have this really cheap engraving tool. I think this was like on clearance for just a few dollars at Joann's or Michael's or something. But it's like a little engraving tool. It's great for the foam. I'm just going to use it to create a cavity here in the top of the barrel. I could go in there carefully and just pick out a little cavity of the foam. It doesn't have to be pretty because I'm going to fill it with those apples. Time for some paint. This does not need to necessarily have the Mod Podge. It's such a small piece. I'm just going to base coat it with some black, thin little coat of black, just to cover up all that green. All right, I have that all painted up. I have here just this scrap piece of cardstock, and I will give it a couple of coats of metallic. Now I'm going to cut out some very thin strips. Very thin strips that I'll use for the banding around the barrel. All right, I'll just take and make a very tiny little spot of hot glue here and stick that in there and hold it till it's stuck. Wrap that painted cardstock around the barrel. Another little bead of hot glue. Back it in. Get yourself a little tiny pair of these little tiny scissors. This is great for details. And just get in close and snip that off. And there's one down. And there you have your little metal banding around the barrel. Looks pretty good. Just some painted paper, cardstock. Now for my apples, I'm going to use the accursed expanded polystyrene. This is that other styrofoam. It's awful stuff mostly, but it does break up into these little balls that are probably about the right size for scale apples. All right, we'll go with just a standard Craft Smart red. So I'm going to pull it down just a little bit with this raw sienna. Yeah, I like that. And I'll just take my little would-be apples here and just throw them right in the paint. Roll them around. Parchment paper. Transfer the little apples over to that. They're sitting in a pool. Kind of roll them out of the pool so they're kind of on their own somewhere on the paper. All right, my apples are all dry. My barrel is ready to go. So I'm just going to take some PVA glue. I'm just using the Aleene's tacky glue here. And I just treat this like a flocking, so I'll just fill my little reservoir here with glue and just start pushing these down into there. And I've even got this little cluster here that I think I will glue on the barrel down at the base. I'm going to come in with a little bit of just green and put some spots here and there just to kind of represent little stems and things. I'll just take a little bit of the Craft Smart olive green, very fine bristle brush here. I'll pull into a nice little point. Just get like a little, treat this like a pen almost. Just pull that into a nice little point. I'm just going to go in and just kind of lay in some dots here and there. They don't need to be too defined. This is sort of like impressionism here. I'm just getting the impression of something like a leaf or a stem. At least that's about what I can handle. There's my little barrel of apples. I'm going to call that finished. I'm pretty happy with that. Cute little apple barrel. I think that works. What do you think?